It's D-U-E-U tell. I see you by this point, you're reading my mind. It's time for football. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, man. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, yeah.
Welcome to Football Game Plan's NFL All 32 show. I am Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook. We have finally reached the postseason. What an NFL season it was in 2020. A lot of ups and a lot of downs. But before we get into our playoff preview, let's take a look at how we ended the season with our Week 17 playoff edition power rankings. We kick off our end-of-season power rankings with the Jacksonville Jaguars, who finished the season at 1-15, which is why they find themselves at number 32. What makes that record so shocking is that they won their first game of the year against the Indianapolis Colts in a thrilling upset, only to lose the remaining 15 games of the season. Now, we saw a ton of issues at quarterback with both Mike Glennon and Gardner Minshew, and as of this week, we saw the firing of head coach Doug Marrone. Now, the cupboard isn't bare for Jacksonville, in my opinion, and whoever they bring in at both general manager as well as head coach will have talent, high draft picks, and a good bit of cap space to turn things around pretty quickly in Duval County. At number 31 are the New York Jets. They find themselves in a very similar situation to the Jacksonville Jaguars, albeit for different reasons. The Jets won 2 of their last 3 games, and it should have been 3 out of the 4 last games of the year, quite honestly, thanks to Greg Williams' decision versus the Las Vegas Raiders. But nonetheless, they ousted head coach Adam Gase, which was expected, and now they have a serious decision to make on quarterback Sam Darnold, who has been both injured and inconsistent so far as a quarterback of the Jets. Now, there are some work-withable pieces on both sides of the ball for Gang Green, and just like the Jaguars, they have a lot of cap space in which to get significantly better, and with good draft picks, this team could turn things around pretty quickly. So we'll see how things shake out here for the Jets, as they will have some very interesting decisions to make this upcoming offseason. Now let's take a look at teams 26 through 30, and the Houston Texans, Atlanta Falcons, and Detroit Lions have all fired their head coach. Each situation to me has some significant pluses as well as some minuses. For Houston, you have a superstar quarterback in Deshaun Watson, but you don't have many high draft picks and very little cap space. Now, Detroit and Atlanta have some solid pieces sprinkled all throughout the roster, but they have some big-time questions with their veteran quarterback situations. Do you move on from Matthew Stafford or Matt Ryan? And if you do, at what cost to your salary cap? So there's definitely some big decisions to be made ahead for all 3 squads. Now, for the 2 squads that tied each other this season, Cincinnati and Philadelphia, they'll have some big decisions ahead of them as well this offseason. For the Bengals, the biggest decision will come in the sense of strengthening the offensive line. I think that'll be priority number 1 and number 2, quite honestly, this offseason, considering last year's number 1 overall pick, quarterback Joe Burrow, will be coming off of a significant knee injury that knocked him out of the regular season, derailing what was a fantastic rookie year. The Bengals were a competitive team down the back stretch of the season, but a little bit more work is needed for a full breakthrough in 2021, especially in that very tough and competitive AFC North. For the Philadelphia Eagles, it involves essentially everyone in this photo: head coach Doug Peterson and his 2 quarterbacks, Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts. Now, the former was benched for the latter, and it's the latter who provides more upside for the team and the offense. The former, which is Carson Wentz, has a significant contract, which makes it tough to move on from him after this season, unless there's some restructuring that'll go on that'll help facilitate a trade for both parties. Now, it became clear and evident that once Jalen Hurts was inserted into the lineup, the Eagles looked like a much better, much more functional offense. So if you're thinking like a smart football person, he should be your starter in 2021. With that being said, it will be interesting to see what happens this offseason regarding the former number 2 overall pick, Carson Wentz. Let's move on to teams 21 through 25, and the San Francisco 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan should get a lot of votes for Coach of the Year, in my opinion, for the job he did all season long with the amount of injuries that his team suffered. First-year head coach Matt Rule's Carolina Panthers finished with a 5-11 record, but they were tough and competitive every game of the season. That youth and experience that they gained this year should prove to be a good thing for them in 2021. The Dallas Cowboys should be in a much better state next season as they get their franchise quarterback Dak Prescott back after a gruesome ankle injury, and the hope is that the defense and Mike McCarthy, their head coach, can be much better next season than what we saw this past year. Two teams in Denver and the New York Giants wanted to see growth in their second-year QBs from the 2019 NFL Draft. In Denver, Drew Lock got the full season of starts, sans the one game he missed due to COVID and the 3 others that he missed due to an injury that he suffered in an early Week 2 matchup versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. All of that to mixed results on the season. While he has shown flashes, he still ended up with just 16 touchdowns to 15 interceptions. And that inconsistency still has the front office wondering if he's the guy moving forward. The hope is that going into his 3rd year, second in the scheme with offensive coordinator Pat Shurmur, can give them the answer that they're looking for in 2021. That'll be a pivotal season for Drew Lock, as it will be for Giants quarterback Daniel Jones, who, like Lock, showed flashes this year, especially as a dual threat guy, but also had the early issues again with turnovers. Jones ended up with just 11 touchdown passes this season to 10 interceptions, but also added 423 yards rushing on the ground. You still don't know with Jones if he's a long-term answer, but he did show enough potential as a runner to offer up some hope for next season. Again, working with a new OC this year in Jason Garrett and going into year 2 with him should give you a clearer picture and potential answer on what he could be as a pro. What we did find out this year about the Giants season is that defensive coordinator Patrick Graham is one hell of a coach for the job he did in turning that unit into a significant strength. Now, there is one playoff team here as we take a look at 16 through 20, and that's the Washington football team, who won the NFC East by way of their Week 17 victory over the Philadelphia Eagles. You also see some teams here like the Los Angeles Chargers and the Minnesota Vikings, who had a surge toward the end of the year but just fell a bit short of a winning record, as did the New England Patriots, who suffered their first losing season in almost 20 years under Bill Belichick. It was a combination of opt-outs to their defensive stars before the season to a highly ineffective offense led by quarterback Cam Newton, who just didn't look right all season long. Another team who just missed the playoffs was the Arizona Cardinals, who were 6-3 at one point of the season and was the talk of the town, and they needed to win last week against the Los Angeles Rams to punch their ticket into the postseason, and they just couldn't get the job done. While Kyler Murray seems like a fixture for their franchise, year 3 will be a pivotal one for his head coach, Cliff Kingsbury. While he's been steady, they need him to be able to get this team to the next level, and that next level is the postseason. But also, he has to get that offense to be dynamic, which, to be quite honest, hasn't been the case since he arrived in the desert. We'll take a quick commercial break and be back with more Football Game Plan's NFL All 32. Football Game Plan is brought to you in part by Ninth and Lux. Visit the website ninethandlux.com and check out the clothing gallery. Do You Music with featured artist IW in his latest album, Season 2. You can check that out on iTunes as well as doyoumusic.com. Nesby Phipps, Art, Life, Entertainment. NesbyPhipps.com. Grind It Out Fitness. Visit the website grinditoutfitness.com and download the app.
Man, it's that old thing, perseverance, consistency, hard work. My goal is to put the same work into, my businesses, my family that I put into football, and I've been running with that mantra since I got married back in '97, that if I'm going to have a successful marriage, I got to, the same hard work and same consistency and discipline I had in the football field, I got to put in my marriage and with my kids and with my businesses and all that. So it teaches you a lot, man. How to deal with your fellow man and not look at his color, but look at what he can do for the overall good of what you're trying to accomplish. So sports to me in general is just an incredible deal when you talk about football specifically, because of the closeness of guys. I just believe it's an amazing sport.
Let's pick back up with teams 11 through 15, and the Cleveland Browns broke their 17-season playoff drought by putting together a fantastic 2020 campaign, and we'll see if they can keep up the good mojo going into the rematch from last weekend, and quite honestly from their last playoff appearance against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Both the Rams and the Bears punched their playoff ticket last week, getting in by the skin of their teeth. The Rams won their game against the Arizona Cardinals, while the Bears benefited from that victory as it punched their ticket into the postseason because they were getting thumped by the Green Bay Packers in the process and would have been on the outside looking in if the Rams would have lost that game. Now, two teams that looked as if they were steamrolling toward the playoffs both ended up on the outside, and that's the Las Vegas Raiders and Miami Dolphins. The Raiders got off to an impressive start to the season. They even knocked off the Kansas City Chiefs and New Orleans Saints, but they failed down the stretch, losing to the Dolphins in the worst way possible, which ultimately knocked them out of the playoffs. Head coach John Gruden can be pleased with the growth of his team this year, but has to be kicking himself for how they collapsed down the stretch. That should give them all of the motivation heading into the offseason. On the Miami Dolphins side, yes, they missed the playoffs with a win-and-end situation against Buffalo, but on the bright side, they still won 10 games in head coach Brian Flores' second season, while also getting their first-round pick, quarterback of the future, Tua Tagovailoa, some valuable live in-game reps in the process. What gives you optimism about this team moving forward is that you know what they have to do in order to get better, and that's to increase the skill talent around Tagovailoa, which should also allow him to blossom more so in year two with this squad. Despite not getting to the playoffs this season, the arrow is definitely pointing up for the Fins in 2021. Moving into the top 10, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers find themselves back in the postseason in over a decade, thanks in part to a defense that has been steady all season long and an offense that's starting to hit its stride at the right time. Pittsburgh started off hot, then they cooled off as the season came to a close, but they hope to send an AFC North rival home this weekend in the postseason as they face the Cleveland Browns. Another AFC North team, the Baltimore Ravens, are on a roll as they head toward the playoffs. The last 4 to 5 games for them have been outstanding, and we'll see if that carries over into the playoffs this upcoming weekend. Now, they'll need it to carry over as the Tennessee Titans have run their way back into the postseason, both figuratively and literally. Running back Derrick Henry ran for over 240 yards last week, which made him the 8th back in NFL history to cross the 2,000-yard barrier. It also makes him the second Tennessee Titan to do so, with CJ2K, Chris Johnson, being the first. The Titans still look like a bully on offense, but will that be the case for a defense that has been a liability all season long? Now, sticking with the running back theme here, the Indianapolis Colts rookie runner Jonathan Taylor really turned it on from the middle of the season and finished with over 1,100 yards with a healthy 5 yards a carry average. They are another team that's playing its best ball at the right time and will need that to be the case and put together their best possible effort this weekend as they draw the red-hot Buffalo Bills in the Super Wildcard matchup. And as we take a look at the top 5, the New Orleans Saints really answered some questions the last couple of weeks, showing that they could still dominate while being shorthanded on offense. That bodes well for them moving forward. The Seattle Seahawks are peaking at the right time, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and both the Green Bay Packers and Kansas City Chiefs have been the model of consistency for a good portion of the regular season. So has the Buffalo Bills, who storm into the playoffs, arguably the hottest team in the AFC, perhaps even the NFL. They remind me a lot of the Baltimore Ravens last year, just so excellent across the board and playing together as a team. They're looking to right some wrongs in this postseason and will be must-see TV as they take on the Indianapolis Colts. It's time to preview the playoffs, and we'll start in the AFC with a huge game, rematch game between the Baltimore Ravens and Tennessee Titans. In what should be a fantastic rematch from last postseason and this regular season, the Ravens now travel to Nashville to tangle with the Titans. Offensively speaking, for the Ravens, it's about consistency, and what we've seen over the last month is them finding their offensive identity, and the consistency in which they operate has followed. Lamar is playing his best football of the season, and the passing game has started to complement the run game very well. Defensively, they have a tall task ahead of them, as it's about making the Titans one-dimensional on offense. And the most important dimension they have to take away is the run game. With a healthier defensive front, it'll be interesting to see how they are able to accomplish that goal. For the Titans in this ball game, this is what you have Derrick Henry for, the playoffs. He single-handedly beat them last season and closed them out this season with a touchdown scamper to end the game. He creates opportunities for A.J. Brown and everyone else on that offense to have success. Now, Brown is also coming off of an impressive game against the Ravens that helped spark that comeback. Defensively, while they haven't been as good as they were last year, they've been opportunistic. It's about alignment, assignment, and execution against Baltimore as the Ravens challenge your discipline and ability to make tackles in space. if they can't get disruption up front against these moving offensive linemen, it could be a long day. I like Baltimore in this ball game. Look for the Ravens to be able to control both sides of the line of scrimmage and beat the Titans at their own game in their own stadium, moving on to the next round. In the other AFC Super Wildcard matchup, the Indianapolis Colts travel to the Buffalo Bills to take on a team that's doing extremely well as they head into the postseason. Now, Indy's offense is coming in on a roll, especially their run game with Jonathan Taylor. It's the passing game that will be forced to hold up its end of the bargain against a solid Bills secondary that can take the ball away. As long as Phillip Rivers can stay on pace, this offense should be able to find some success on game day. Defensively, it's about push versus pressure against Josh Allen. They can't allow him to escape and extend the play and force him to play a one-dimensional game. If they allow him to create, he's like Patrick Mahomes in the sense that he can work touchdown to check down with ease. For the Bills, dance with the person you brought to the party, and that's Josh Allen in the passing game. They can't come into this matchup against the Colts trying to establish a run and get themselves out of rhythm. Let Josh Allen work the passing game early and then lean on the run game late to close them out. Defensively, Phillip Rivers will give you an opportunity or two to make a couple of plays on the football, and it'll be up to the secondary to convert on those opportunities. On the front side of things, they can't allow Jonathan Taylor to have his way on the ground. Otherwise, they could be in trouble. I like Buffalo in this game. For me, it'll come down to which quarterback can you trust to make a play when it's needed and avoid the costly mistake. And despite his experience, it's not Phillip Rivers, it's Josh Allen. And in the last AFC matchup of the weekend, Cleveland takes on Pittsburgh for the second time in subsequent weeks. You look at the Browns and what they're able to do offensively. They have a multitude of weapons, more particularly in the run game. So the run game is going to be prevalent once again against the Steelers front seven. But they're going to need Baker Mayfield to be efficient and effective with the football, just like he was in their last matchup. Now, defensively, they should get some guys back healthy. I'm talking about a guy like Denzel Ward on the corner. If they're getting healthier in the secondary, they do pose a problem to that Pittsburgh Steelers passing game because they do have guys that can match up on the perimeter. For the Steelers, it's about whether or not they can run the football. They've been trying all season long. They started to have some success in the middle part of the season, but that has to carry over in this game. It'll be tough against this front four of the Browns. And defensively, can they stop the run and make Baker Mayfield beat them consistently throwing the football? That'll be the challenge. That'll be the key. I think they will get the job done. So I like Pittsburgh to move on to the second round.
I love football. I cannot get enough of football. I watch it on every level.
The emotional release. You know, whether it's an exciting play that gets you all jacked up and juiced, or whether it's the fact that you're able to pour everything you have. Whatever frustration you had that week, you can put into that first kickoff coverage, that first block that you have, whatever it might be.
And I couldn't think of anything better to do to fill that void that you have as a football player than to get into coaching.
You get a chance to release a lot of emotion that you otherwise have no place to release. There's nothing else like that.
Again, the relationships you build and the people you're around and watching the guys compete, not just on the football field, but in life after they get done playing. It's just an amazing game.
Football Game Plan is brought to you in part by Financial Coaching LLC, investment, retirement, security. Stewardship Credit, financial growth is in your hands. Stewardshipcredit.com. Adrienne Marie Photo, photographer, writer, management. AdrienneMariePhotography.com. Lock Multimedia. Be sure to order your copy of the Go-Go Offense by Coach Brennan Marion on footballgameplan.com/GoGo Offense. Coach Marion goes through the ins and outs of his explosive offense, one that's tearing up the college football field and putting a lot of points on the scoreboard. Again, you can order your copy at footballgameplan.com/GoGo Offense. Now let's move over to the NFC playoffs, and we'll start in Washington as the football team plays host to Tampa Bay. Tampa's offense comes into this ball game firing on all cylinders now that Antonio Brown has finally joined the party as far as making plays are concerned. So that bodes well for them heading into this matchup against Washington, because if they can hold up front, they should have some opportunities to throw the ball deep down the field. And defensively, This is about making sure you rally up and making tackles, because Alex Smith in that passing game doesn't threaten you deep enough down the field. So if you can rally up, make a tackle in the short to intermediate area, you can get off the field. So it's going to be up to Alex Smith and that offense to really push the tempo a little bit more, so push the pace downfield to loosen up everything, so therefore they can run the football. Otherwise, it could be a problem for that offensive line blocking them up front. So it's going to put a lot of pressure on Chase Young and that defensive line of Washington to get after Tom Brady, which they can, and they will have some early success, but they'll get tired, they'll get worn down, and that's how I see the Bucs coming away victorious. Next up, we have the New Orleans Saints playing host to the Chicago Bears, and the Bears are coming in with a very good defense, a capable offense, but they're going to have to get a lot of that out of that offense against this defensive front seven of New Orleans. Mitch Trubisky didn't face the Saints earlier in the season. It was Nick Foles, and if Trubisky goes out there and plays like he did against Green Bay, it could be a problem. So it's going to be up to that defense to make plays, turn the ball over, and try to put the ball in the end zone. We know they're capable of doing that, but how can they sustain that over 4 quarters? Because we've seen the Saints do a great job without their stars being dynamic on offense, and that may be the case in this ball game once again. So the offense should have some success, but I think the defense will be the biggest story on why they move on to the next round. So look for that Saints defense to frustrate Trubisky, getting ample opportunities to Drew Brees and that offense to put the ball in the end zone. And lastly, we have an NFC West matchup in the playoffs as the Rams and Seahawks meet up. And this time, the Rams will get back their starting quarterback, Jared Goff, who missed last game because of a thumb injury that required surgery. Can he push this passing game forward? He's going to have to make some tough throws. As we know, the Seahawks have ratcheted up their pressure and ability to get pressure on the quarterback. Defensively, we know they can do a great job up front with their defensive line. We know they can cover on the perimeter. I worry about the linebacking core versus the intermediate passing game and run game of Seattle, because when you look at the Seahawks offense, their run game has gotten significantly better over the course of the season, and that's how they win games. They wear you down with the run and take those timely play action deep shots down the field. Defensively, I think they can ratchet up the pressure against Jared Goff, force him to make plays consistently, force him to make those off-platform throws, and force him to do things that he doesn't want to do, which is stand in the face of that pressure and deliver strikes. So I do think the Seahawks, because they've gotten better defensively and in the run game over the course of the season, they will have enough to slow down the Rams at home. So that's it for this edition of Football Game Plan's NFL All 32 show. I am Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Be sure to follow me on all of my social media accounts, and don't forget to check out and subscribe to the Football Game Plan Network located at youtube.com/footballgameplan. Also subscribe on iTunes to Football Game Plan Podcast and leave us a 5-star rating.
It's D-U-E, you tell I see you by this point, you're reading my mind. It's time for football. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, man. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, yeah.